Hi, welcome to another awesome episode of Extremists Being Awesome, the interviews, in which I interview awesome extremists, parentheses, anarchists, about cool things that they're doing in the anarchist community and helping other anarchists along their path so that we can create the parallel economy. Thank you for joining me. Today, my guest is Kaysen Bryden. And Kaysen is a very awesome extremist who has a lot of things going on, lots of pots on different fires. And today we're going to talk about a project that he has founded that helps people, especially people in the anarchist community, level up on their financial skills and financial freedom. Um, he also is a founder, that organization is called Wealth Battle. And he's also a founder of Anarchy Media. So, Kaysen, would you like to give us a little introduction to you?
So hi, I'm Kaysen. I've been an anarchist for a couple years now, and I just hate roads. No, so I used to be a TV producer for the big, the ABCs and the NBCs of the world. And then I became an anarchist, and I didn't like who our advertisers were, and I didn't like the content I was making. So I started up a couple little businesses that have, they've done all right. And one of them is called Anarchy Media, where we kind of combine freedom and business together. That's like, hey, somebody has a course, somebody has a book, somebody has something that they're trying to get out there in the world. So we'll go and we'll produce that. And then as a subset of that, I co-founded wealthbattle.com with my business partner, Lisa, because we just noticed that a lot of people who might say, I'm an ANCAP, they get the "and" part. They get the you own your body, you own the effects thereof. Nobody has the right to take those fruits of your labors without your consent. Like most people get that in this particular sphere. But man, do they suck on the capitalism part. Man, do they suck on the like figuring out how to like trade value for value and that sort of thing. And I don't blame anybody because we're not taught that in schools. Like if you go through the typical government school type thing, that is the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Science is a green folder, it's not this is how you position something in the market. This is how you charge more for the same thing by changing the surroundings. Like if you think of like Coca-Cola, you can buy it at 25 cents at like a big box mart. You go to a movie theater, it's like $6 for the same volume of liquid. How did they do that? It's marketing, it's positioning, it's all these different things. So we started up Wealth Battle to help people figure out their financial lives, to arm them so they're not pushed around by circumstances, so they can be a bit more autonomous. Specifically, we do that through helping them form budgets or spending plans, some might prefer to call them. And then the other component to that is helping them build opportunity funds so we can then escape the rat race, so we don't have to go to work every single day.
Awesome. So, you're like a self-proclaimed budgeting nerd.
Yeah, I have a problem with budgeting, and
Yeah.
that's because I love it too much. Yeah, I love budgeting. It makes me so happy.
So tell us what about budgeting? What, like, were you always a budgeting nerd? Did you like emerge from the womb with a ledger in your hand, or at what point in your life did you decide, hey, this budgeting thing is pretty cool?
Yeah, so it was after I had accrued nearly six figures in consumer debt. That's whenever I started getting interested in budgeting and busting that up. So it became out of necessity. I seem to have this trajectory of like, let's totally try this thing, fail epically, and then figure out the systems that are needed to fail less epically, to where we might even say you have some measure of success, right?
Mhm.
So that was probably 4 or 5 years ago, whenever I really dug in on budgeting in my personal life. And then once I kind of figured it out on the personal side, put it into the business side. So now we have a kind of a rudder, like a wheel and rudder, where we can change the direction of our financial ship as a household, or I can change the financial ship of the business. Like, which way are we moving? And what I've noticed, this is a big faux pas whenever people think about budgeting. A lot of people basically, I think of it kind of like a GPS. Let's just take like a quick step aside here. So like, I think that budgeting is like a GPS. It needs to know, where are you now and where are you going? So if we say, where am I now? Well, I have $100 to my name, or I have $1,000,000 to my name. Whatever that is, wherever you're at, it's fine. No judgment. Not here to pass that. But just where are you now? And where do you want to go? Well, in a GPS, it's like a physical destination. Turn left, turn right. It gives you the turn by turn directions to get there in the least amount of time, is typically what we're targeting for. But in a budget, if we say, where am I now? I have this. Where do I want to go? I want to spend this on these particular things because these things are important to me, to making my life meaningful or happy or whatever it is. It will tell us what the least amount of money we need to tuck away each month to make that a reality. It takes things out of, wouldn't it be nice? Someday I will, to like, no, I can do this by next year in July on this particular day because I know my numbers enough to know that I can afford that trip to Cairo with somebody that I just talked to recently. Like, I want to see the Great Pyramids of Giza. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's just see. Plug in the numbers. And like next year, nah. 2 years from now, assuming they make no extra money, yeah, they can do that. So then it becomes a game of like, well, can I make a little extra money? Can I trim that back? Can I live more life in the span of life that I have? More life per life. Anyway, so that's like my thing with budgeting. I want to look forward, to go places that I've never been before. I don't want to just look backwards in the rear view mirror and go like, well, what did I do last month? Let's just copy and paste that until I die. That sounds like a really bad way to live.
Yeah, sounds boring
It is pretty boring, and
and devastating also.
tragic because like our
Yeah,
freedom
tragic.
depends on it, you know?
Yeah. So what, okay, so just give us the basic rundown. What Wealth Battle is a membership um service, a subscription-based service. What do people get when they sign up for Wealth Battle?
Yeah, so Wealth Battle is a community of people who are trying to escape the rat race together. So you can join the community, you can come and hang out, that sort of thing. Wealthbattle.com has all the details. But in short, go get yourself a free trial. Come out to what we call the budgeting boot camp. That's kind of like step one for most people. There's been a couple people that is like, no, your budget's actually really solid, but it's definitely in the minority. Like after personally helping over 250 people build out a budget, it's definitely less than 10%. I don't know the exact number, but it's less than 10% where I'm like, hey, these numbers are good. Like these look great. Um, and then from there, once you've controlled, oh, well, actually, here, I have this handy dandy little, let's see if I can zoom in on this. Wow, smash zoom. So we have this little thing called IBORSE, IBOARSE. Okay.
Mhm.
Stands for income, budgeting, opportunity funds, ascending cash flows, reducing your, like there's a whole bunch of stuff to it, but basically like everybody can figure out like, okay, I can go get a job, I can generate some amount of income, and that's cool. Once you have those dollars, you got to give them a job. That's what we call budgeting. Once you've started to give those dollars a job, you're now able to account for what's your lifestyle cost, and then you can go, I'm going to start building an opportunity fund. For some people, that's like, my next opportunity is retirement. But for some people, it's like, I'm going to start a business. For other people, it's, I'm going to do this or that. I'm going to travel, whatever the thing is, right? Then we just kind of work with people to figure out where do they go from here. So the first step is budgeting, really, for most people. It's like build a budget, build an opportunity fund, and then try to make deals amongst the community members. So, for example, somebody they're paying a big bank a lot of money. They went to the Wealth Battle community. They said, "Hey, the big nasty bank is charging me this kind of interest. What can we do?" And then we put together like a little private deal that doesn't have to involve the banks. So then we're keeping money within the community rather than going to the big multinational corporations.
That's a beautiful thing.
Parallel economy, I think you said earlier.
Yeah, I did say something about the parallel economy. So that's so when people subscribe to Wealth Battle, they're joining this community where they have hopefully access to deals that, you know, will help improve their financial situation from within this like mostly anarchist community, right?
Yeah.
And then also they're getting help with their budgeting. I believe there's like a couple of groups that meet that help people on a regular basis to stay on their budget.
Yeah,
And
twice a month, little accountability back and forth. It starts out as budgeting and then it turns into more than that. Once everybody kind of gets budgeting, it's like, okay, what's the next step? And then it becomes like people helping people,
Mhm.
building the parallel economy, as you say.
Right. And so what do you see as like the reason why anarchists in particular, like, I mean, I noticed, okay, so I'm just going to tell the audience here. When I signed up for Wealth Battle, there's this little section on the membership agreement page that you have to fill out where it asks you if you are if you believe in the NAP. Like basically it's asking you, are you a subscriber to the non-aggression principle, and will you please affirm or confirm that none of the money that we're helping you budget and stuff comes from a violation of the non-aggression principle. So this is a beautiful thing. I really appreciated that. And I want to know, like, how do you envision this kind of financial plank in the lives of anarchist individuals kind of like helping us to create these parallel economies and move towards more freedom?
Yeah, so the specific language that we have is that I agree any funds transferred to wealthbattle.com are made from voluntary exchanges that, to the best of my knowledge, did not violate the non-aggression principle. So if someone is making money straight from the government, that would not be true. And if we find out that later, because we find out like, well, how's your business? Who do you work with? That sort of thing. It's like, yeah, this isn't going to work. You got to be ethical on this side of things. We can't do that. I don't want to be complicit in the problem, So how does it help people? What was the exact question?
Well, so we all want to move towards greater freedom collectively, but I guess that starts at an individual level, right? So like I see what you guys are doing with Wealth Battle as a way to help the people who understand what freedom means to obtain more freedom. And the more freedom that we obtain, eventually, the more able we are to create a free society. That's how I see it. Do you?
People take you more seriously if you say I can help with the restructuring of society, whenever you can like manage your household affairs, like
Sure.
kind of like what's that, like clean your room, like that whole vibe.
Yeah.
It's like manage your own finances before telling people that they're tanking the economy, or that they're spending a national debt that can never be paid, or what have you. Like, prove that you have some semblance of control over yourself before, because then you have that credibility, compared to like the politicians who are like, well, this is what we need to do with the public purse. It's like, I don't know if that's true or not. I really don't think it is. I think that there is no public purse. It's just all taken under threat of duress. Like, that's not cool. Let's just not be central authoritarians, and let's not be central planners. Let's live our lives. That's why, like, in budgeting, this is interesting. People will literally say, I bet you think this is wrong. And I'm like, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm here to ask you questions around how do you want to live your life, assuming that we're non-aggression principle compliant, right? Don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. Pretty basic kindergarten ethics. I'm like, no, I'm not here to tell you that what you're doing is wrong. It's just, is it mathematically feasible? Because a lot of people, whenever they look at their numbers, it's like, yeah, there's a reason why you have this, debt that's been looming over you, or what have you. And it's because they don't know their numbers. They're not playing within the bounds of their life as it is, which you can contract the way that you live, or you can expand the earning potential. You can't do neither. If you can't do neither, you're the government. Not really. You're better than the government, but you're fiscally like the government.
Right.
So.
And so are there ways within as you become, as a person becomes more fiscally responsible and more on top of, they level up their financial skills in order to obtain more individual financial freedom, are there ways to secede from certain areas of kind of how the government tries to control us?
Totally. What's interesting is you create new problems for yourself. So you're always learning. So like, let's say that budgeting has been a struggle. Okay, so you master budgeting, and now you are building a chunk of change. Let's say you have a chunk of change that's ready to go. Well, what do you do with that? What are the options? Most people are like, oh, put it in a 401k. You want to play by the government's rules? You want them to have control over your money? You want them to be able to say, this is how much you can take, when you can take, how you can take, what you have to fill out. Like, that's not very separate from the government. You're not really beating them whenever you're playing inside of their system. I would wonder, how can you get outside of the system? How can you get outside of the taxable system? Which, like, as far as this conversation, there are legal ways to get outside of the taxable system, things that predate the tax code, that big companies are doing, that big financial institutions are doing. And if you look at them, like, what are they doing? They're telling you one thing. They're telling, hey, park your money in the bank. It's really safe. It's really a good idea. Well, that's not what they're doing with the money. They're using it to invest in businesses. They're using it to buy corporate or bank loaned life insurance. There's all kinds of different things that they're doing with the money.
Right. So true.
It's like double speak. They tell you to do one thing and then they do something else. It's like a performative contradiction, you know?
Yeah. Well, okay, did we cover all of the membership benefits joining Wealth Battle?
I don't know. So, I mean, it's basically build out your budget, build out an opportunity fund, join a community, get help as you need it. So it's just in time information rather than just in case information. Like, yeah, there's like 50 plus hours of educational content and that sort of thing on the site as well. But I'm not a big believer in like, if only the anarchist and freedom-minded community would read one more book. Like,
Right.
we read a lot, we listen a lot, we consume a lot of information. I think it's more about putting it into practice and putting in systems to where it's like, let's just take a little step in the right direction. Let's take one step in the direction that you want to go, which could be as simple of have you input all of the transactions for the past week. If
Right.
not, why not? Oh, okay. So you have trouble with that. Let's find a way to overcome that in your life. And everybody has a different hang up, and that's fine. That's part of being human. We all have our beautiful idiosyncrasies. So it's a matter of how do we work with what we got to build a future that we want to live in, rather
Yeah.
than letting it being determined by the WEF or the WHO or whomever.
Mhm. Well, I really think that the free content that you do have available is top notch, and I appreciate it. And yeah, it's not something like I'm not gonna sit and watch it all at once. But yeah, whenever I have that question, like, you know, one of them was separating your business from your personal finances, which is
Hmm.
apparently a thing that is really important to do that I have never done. Um, and Kason was like, you should really do this. So I'm in the
You should
process.
consider it. There are a lot of benefits to it because then how's the business health doing? How's the personal health doing on the financial side? How are
Mhm.
these, rather than like one slush fund that gets pulled different ways?
Yeah. So what is the origin story? You said you noticed that a lot of anarchists don't, or a lot of ANCAPs don't have the capitalist part down right.
Yeah.
Um, but you told me a particular quick origin story one
Oh,
time,
okay.
and I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, sure. I'll hopefully this is the one you want to hear. If not, let me know. Stop me at any
Oh,
point.
there's more. That's great.
So
Oh,
stressful.
wait, there's more.
I'll remember. So I went to Anarcho in, I think it was 2019. I invited a friend of mine to go, and I taught him a lot about TV production and audio video production. And I know what kind of rates he charges per day. I know like a fair amount about his business. And he said the words, "I can't afford it." And I was like, that's so sad, because he said he wanted to go for months, and he said he was going to go for months, and nothing really big came in. He just wasn't budgeting properly to where he would feel comfortable like taking a week or two off from his business. And I was like, that is so sad, because turns out, I mean, who knew that 2020 was right around the corner and like the world was going to change drastically, but like that same vibe will never be recaptured. That
Right.
particular instance, that particular conglomeration of people. I went with some other friends. We had a great time. We met some new friends. In fact, that's where I met Lisa, at that particular event. She was already doing some educational seminars and some financial education for people in another community. And I was like, dude, we could combine the two things that we like to talk about and turn this into something that could really be powerful for the ANCAPs, the voluntarists of the world. I'm going to say voluntarist. Uh, and if I say that, I mean ANCAP, but you could technically be like a cannibal anarchist. Larkin Rose pointed this out to me at one point. He's like, you could be a cannibal anarchist and a really bad guy, and not believe in authority. But if you're a voluntarist, you wouldn't be that if you were consistent with the principles. I'm like, you're not wrong. I think that's
Yeah.
right. I think I should probably throw in voluntarist at some point.
Right.
Less shock
So
value.
so you had a disappointing situation with an
Oh, it's so sad.
voluntarist friend,
Oh
and
yeah,
then went to the event anyway.
yeah.
Anarcho-Polka. Which year was this?
2019. This was in 2019.
19. Okay, went to the event anyway and met your superhero like side, or I guess you can be each other's sidekicks, right? You're like the
Sure,
superhero
I'll be her
duo
sidekick any day of the week.
of anarchist financial skills.
Yeah, like she taught me things that I had never considered about like running the numbers, and like I consider myself now fairly competent with the numbers. But she was like, well, how's the house? I'm like, oh, doing like a 15-year mortgage. We're putting some extra principal at it, putting like 10K extra a year. That means we're going to only pay this much in interest. And she was like, whoa, hold the phone. You're giving the bank your money faster now? And I'm like, yeah, to save interest. And she's like, well, consider the following. Is the value of the US dollar projected to go up or down in your mind? And I was like, down over time. They're definitely going to keep printing money. I'm pretty confident, like 99.9% confident that they're going to keep printing money into oblivion, as all fiat currencies do over time. She was like, so that means the dollars you're giving them now are the most valuable pieces of paper you'll ever hold. Oh, well, what are my other options? Extend the term, let them suffer because your payment stays fixed. The value of the dollar drops down, and then you can put the differential of that into something that gains money rather than just saves money. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying money when I mean currency. Please, gold bugs, don't crucify me. I know it's not sound money, it's currency. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's an interesting topic. I had only first been introduced to, or concept that I had only first been introduced to in like the last few weeks, as I came to some of y'all's free presentations and also chatted with Lisa about that. We're like, because the conventional and traditional mortgage advice is, if you can do it, get a shorter term mortgage, pay it off quicker, and
But
don't
who's telling you that? The banks?
right.
you know?
Yeah,
It's like look at what they do versus what they tell you. It's not the same thing.
I'm not a numbers person. I'm a word person, and um, but yeah, when you put it like that, it's like, no, I don't have a mortgage, but if I did, if I was going to get a mortgage, I know that in 15 years, the dollar will probably be, I mean, at the rate inflation is going right now, it'll probably be double or half the value of what it is now. You know, just
That's Jerome Powell right now, just making it
fucking just
rain on everybody.
feed the bank. Go to your bank and give it some kibble. Like, yeah, it's ridiculous. Um,
And there's obviously like mathematical examples that you can run in, like, oh no, this actually is the most efficient way based on my lifestyle and yada yada. And there's the non-tangibles, like how much stress would you have if you use more leverage? Like those are things that should totally be taken into account. But I can't tell you what that's worth to you. Value is subjective. You have to determine how to live your life. That's the point. Like I'm a big believer in praxeology. I'm a big believer in the idea of human action. If you like Ludwig von Mises, it's like only you can determine the ordinal ranking of values from most important to least important. I can't do that for you. And anybody who says that they can, I think they're full of it. I think they're super full of it.
right. Well, anyway, Wealth Battle. I highly recommend. I've been a member for a little while now, and it has helped me get my financial house in order uh, to a much larger degree than it was before. And I'm looking forward to all of the things that I can do within the community, as I continue on that path.
It's like
And
the difference.
also,
Oh yeah.
also,
Yeah, yeah.
Wealth Battle subscribers now get productivity sessions with Star, with me, that is, included in their membership.
Because it helps people move forward. I saw what Star was doing. I picked up a copy of Extremists Being Awesome, and I was like, "This is cool. How do I bring it to the community?" So we'll pay for that. Because it helps people take actionable steps. That's like the whole principle. It's not just in case information, it's just in time. It's like actionable, let's work with it, let's grow, let's move, rather than what we really need to do is come up with another plan. That's what we need to do. We need to think more and read more about these things and not actually do anything. It seems to be like the cardinal vice of the liberty movement. It's like, dude, I just went on like a 50-hour YouTube binge. I know so much about the straw men. Like, that's just where people go, it seems, for some reason. I think it's because it takes a certain amount of analyticalness. Analyticalness? That's not a word. It takes a certain amount of analyticalness to realize that we're living in the matrix, and like what people say is not necessarily what is.
Yeah, we tend to be very intellectually uh our intellectual muscles are stronger than the rest of our muscles. Let's just put it that way. We're like the in maybe in the Middle Ages we would have been like scholars and uh wizards or whatever they had back then.
The monks?
The monks. We would have been monks or scholars, and we would have been supported by the monastery or the scholarly institution, Oxford or whatever, to sit around and read and think about things all the time. But now we are putting our intellectual power, our intellectual prowess towards a self-evident truth that that government should not exist or does not need to exist. And we haven't quite gotten the intellectual understanding kind of manifested in our actions. Apart from, yeah, okay, we don't hurt people and we don't take their stuff. Like I mean, we kind of covered that at the beginning of the interview. You know, we have it manifested in our actions to the extent that we try to act in a moral way, but we don't have it manifested in our actions to the extent that we really, really take responsibility for the things that we don't want to be dependent on government for.
It's kind of like that old saying that the proof is in the pudding. If you say, I have the solution, everything is going to work out. All you got to do is let people decide what's best for them, barring that they don't hurt people and take their stuff. Well, how's your pudding tasting? Pretty bland, dude. Pretty bland. Just barely scraping by. But let me tell you, if everybody else would get on board, then we'd be okay. I don't think it has a lot of power behind it compared to like, oh, hey, I am suffering. I have cancer. Oh, hey, here's $5,000. Like, let me donate that. Let me help you out with that. Let me coordinate other people to help with that. Let's like get you better. Let's help you feel okay. Let's get you what you need. It's like, oh, how did you come about this? Well, I believe in voluntary transaction, and I in fact study the practical effects thereby. Like, let's figure that out together. Let's walk in that together rather than, work for the man until we die, which kind of sucks.
Totally sucks, bro.
Totally sucks, bro.
So, okay, I feel like you've already kind of we've touched upon this, but to wrap it up in a really succinct way, I ask all of my interviewees this question at the end of the interview. What is one thing that you wish anarchists and voluntarists would think differently about?
Only one thing.
If you have more than one.
No. I'm going to get the only one thing.
Okay.
It's okay to come as you are and build on that. It seems to me that so many people have like this expectation that everything they do is either needing to be perfect and flaw free and all of this, or they never put it out into the world. Like, oh, I'm writing a book. It's not quite done. I'm working on this video series. It's not quite done. I'm working on this other thing. It's not quite done. When is it time to let it out into the wild and to let it grow and to let it live or die by its own merits, because it seems like there's this big contained potential within all of these people who get the most important truth that, like, donor people don't take their stuff. Only people exist. Governments don't exist. Like, these people who understand like some really core things, but they're stymied, partially because they're alone, partially because like they're not accepted in their like local community. Maybe it's like a very traditional community, or very government political type of thing. So like part of it is like that, but the other part of it is just, I don't even know what I can do. I don't even know what I can't do, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You do know what you don't know sometimes, but you don't always know what you don't know. And the only way that you can fix that is either by discovering it for yourself, or being in communication with other people. So like, band together, brothers and sisters and others, band together and figure out life as we go.
So are you basically telling us to ship it?
Just ship it, dude.
Ship it.
Version 1.
What's the other one? Perfection is the enemy of done, or perfect is the enemy of done. That's
I don't know the
what is
saying.
that one?
No.
No.
No, I mean, maybe, who knows? But I mean, it's like perfection. Don't let perfection be the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
Where it's like people just keep working on a thing and they never release it, and then they die, and then that thing never gets released anyway. It's like,
Yeah.
well, at least put out like a version 1, and then
Okay.
you can always make a version 2. Like that's what I did with with Anarchy Media. I built a thing with Lark and Rose. It's called Candles in the Dark Seminar. You can check it out at attendcandles.com. We put out a version 1 and it sucked. So we re-recorded it. We put out a version 2 and it was great. Like we learned from the mistake, but we did
Yeah.
something, rather than just like, yeah, it'd be really cool to one day record this seminar. That's so he doesn't have to travel around the country and do seminars every single weekend, way
Yeah,
better.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's so much better to I it's so much better to just put something out there, like, add your creative, or whatever it is you're passionate about doing, whether it's a creative project or entrepreneurship or whatever you're intellectually, mulling over for the past 5 years. um putting putting it out there and making it a part of, making it a part of the world instead of just locked in your head. Why would you just keep it locked in your head?
I see you
um,
doing that with Extremists Being Awesome. Whenever it started out, it was like, a couple meetings a week, and now it's grown to something like 20 plus hours of meetings a week, and people are showing up, and you have a nice little format, like it's great to see that kind of development and that growth over time. So
yeah, love it, love it. And so everybody come do that with us, or you don't have to do it with us, do it with somebody else or do it by yourself, but just do it. We need more anarchist voluntarist voices, anarchist voluntarists putting like their creative awesomeness out into the world, because that builds up, like there's this well of awesomeness that's like largely untapped, and your stuff is part of it. So just like keep increasing the level of that well until it overflows. Wow, I just made a metaphor. Until it overflows into the rest of the world, you know
I
that's
love it.
how I see it. So okay, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Wanted to share Kason with you guys because he's so cool, and
Oh,
I've
shucks.
enjoyed I've enjoyed meeting him so much and getting to know him over the past few months. Do you have any, like, drop us your things? Actually, I'll put my affiliate link to Wealth Battle below the video so everybody can yes,
So you
it
can
is an
check out
affiliate link.
her link to wealthbattle.com. Use her affiliate link if this is how you heard about it. It's only fair. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It just gets her a couple dollars a month, which is something that we offer to all of our members. As you get benefit, then it's like, how do you build your first cash flow? Or if you're somebody who needs to help creating like a video course, or you have a live event that you want to put together, anarchy.media is that particular website. And yeah, you can reach out from there. So peace.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kason. Um, that's it.